Here's an exclusive interview we did with former English skipper Nasser Hussain, who seems to be dead set against any physical confrontation and feels if indeed James Anderson crossed the line and got physical with Ravindra Jadeja, he must be banned.
As we get to Lord's and get to the test match that the whole world perhaps is bracing for, who better to talk about what awaits us at Lord's, what has transpired over the last 24 hours than Nasser Hussain, perhaps the best commentator in the business and one of my favourite captains of all time. Thanks, Nasser, for joining us.
That's right.
First question, over the last 24 hours we've seen this series go from bad to worse in the sense of camaraderie between the two teams have sort of soiled. The Jimmy Anderson episode, what is your take? Should India have complained? Are they sort of making a mountain of a molehill?
Well, it's very difficult for us commentators to say because nothing happened on the field of play. So we didn't see anything. I don't know what happened in the tunnel leading up to the Trent Bridge dressing rooms. I know that both sides play it tough. I don't think it has been over the top, to be honest. I think India, since Ganguly, have been a very much an in-your-face sort of side, and the better for Indian side, actually. India, tough cricketers. You know, when you play against Ganguly or Harbhajan or Dhoni or anyone, they're in your face and they play tough, which is the exact way it should be the players played. And that's exactly the same with this England side. They play tough as well. So I don't know exactly what happened. We all know what the line is. We all know pretty much crystal clear, the odd word here, the odd bit of banter, the odd bit of sledging. It has happened since Dennis Lillee and Jeff Thompson and Ian Chappell. It has always happened. Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath, and it's always happened. The line is when it becomes physical, when there is any kind of contact between players. I don't like that because this is a game of cricket. It's not football. Now, I don't know if it did get physical. I wasn't in that tunnel. It's going to be one word, one person's word against the other.
That was my second question before I move on, that if it did get physical, as somebody who has captained a side, as somebody who sort of the world looks up to when you commentate, if it did get physical, would you say that that is actually beyond the line? I
think that's beyond the line. If I don't know the situation of what happened down there, who started it, who didn't, but you know, even away from the game of cricket, you look at what happened with Joe Root, you know, previously, etc. I don't think that any time in a game of cricket, there's one thing to have sledging, but another thing to get physical. And then you get into very grey water. Who started it, who didn't start it, who started physical, you know, who pushed, who didn't push. So these things are best for the ICC to sort out. You know, if India feels strongly about it, I'm sure England have come back and England feel strongly about it. Just play, I think we all know that line. Just play the game tough. There's nothing wrong with the odd sledge, the odd word, and we saw Ishant and Joe Root go against each other. That was great TV viewing. This is important. You know, test match cricket between India and England is important. People should get a bit hot under the collar. They care. Jimmy cares, Ishant cares, Jadeja cares, Dhoni cares, they all care. So let's play it tough, but let's not cross that line.
You know, the one thing that is being said in the British press and what people have said, some of former England captains as well, that why did India have to wait for so long? But the fact is, he complained to the match referee. Do you think that there is a motive behind it? Because a motive is being imputed that Mahendra Singh Dhoni wants to take James Anderson out of the equation because he's the most potent English weapon.
I don't know if there's any kind of motive. I don't know if there's any kind of, you know, when it was reported. It's going to be very difficult to prove either way. It's going to be one person's word. I don't see any kind of motive. I see MS Dhoni as someone who tries to do the right thing. Obviously, it would suit him if Jimmy Anderson wasn't playing, but these things also take time to work out. You know, England could appeal, and it might not even affect this series. So I think MS Dhoni's probably trying to do the right thing, but England will try and do the right thing in reply, really. I think the sooner this sort of episode is put behind the teams and leave it to the people who know, the ICC, the match referees, leave it to them to sort out. Just turn up to Lord's tomorrow and play your cricket. I'm sure Jimmy Anderson will be there tomorrow. I'm sure MS Dhoni will be there tomorrow. Play tough and get on with the series.
What will this mean for the Lord's Test? I mean, will this sort of add to the intensity? Obviously, it's Lord's, the aura, cricket's mecca, the occasion. It's huge. I mean, already there's such a build-up, especially after Trent Bridge where India wasn't rolled over. Do you think this will add to the passion before Lord's?
Absolutely. I mean, it was never going to be a nice sort of friendly series, to be honest. This has always been a tough series, India, England. these things happen and sides move on. Listen, before the Sri Lanka series in the one-dayers, there was the Mankadding with Senanayaka, etc., and everyone had it down that the Sri Lankan series was going to explode, and it didn't. It was played fairly, it was played tough, and it was brilliant series, won off the second from last ball up at Headingley, and I expect exactly the same. Obviously now Jimmy Anderson will have to be very careful because the cameras are going to be on him. Jadeja, Dhoni, everyone's going to have to be careful because once it's brought to a match referee's attention, he will be sitting there like a hawk watching everything.
This is a question, Nasser, I need to ask you because you have been one of the best-known captains of all time. Ian Chappell has come out and sort of castigated Dhoni, saying he doesn't deserve to be captain of India anymore. The reins should be given to Virat Kohli. He's not proactive enough, not a good test match player. What is your assessment at this point in time?
Well, two things I'll say. One, Ian Chappell has always had some very good, strong views on the game of cricket. You know, a little bit like Shane Warne, his mate. He doesn't mess around with his words. If that's what he believes, fine. Cricket is the game of opinions. My opinion on MS Dhoni is one of the greatest things ever to come out of India, to be honest. One of the greatest captains. Look at his record, look at his one-day record, look at his World Cup record. Yes, in test match cricket away from home, he needs to sort that out. Right, India away from home haven't won since 2011, but as he said to me at the toss the other day, is that down to him? Is that down to the bowling resources he's had? You know, a captain can only do so much. India need to produce a bowling attack that will take 20 wickets away from home. Look, MS Dhoni has done a lot of great things for Indian cricket. Be careful before you think, oh, let's move on. You know, everything will be better when Dhoni's gone. Look, he's done a lot of good things. So I think he's bought the time, if anyone has bought the time to say, just give me a chance to try and turn this round, it's MS Dhoni. But like any other, like me as captain or Ganguly or Dravid or anyone, if eventually you don't start winning away from home, then MS Dhoni himself might say, look, it's someone else's turn, it's Virat's turn, whatever. But make no mistake, captains are important. They give you the extra 2 or 3%. But I tell you what wins test matches? Bowling attacks. When this sun's out and it's flat, bowlers win you test matches.
Were you surprised with what England produced in Trent Bridge in terms of that track? Because that sort of allowed India to come out of jail twice. I mean, first day 450 plus, again the last day. Were you surprised, and do you expect Lords and subsequently Southampton, Old Trafford will be different? Because beyond Anderson and Broad, even the English attack, especially the spin attack, looked very flat.
Yeah, I was surprised. We're great hosts. We've given you the sun, we're going to give you 30 degrees at Lords, everything. Whatever you want, India can have. So I was surprised. I don't think he did it on purpose. You know, I think he got it slightly wrong, the groundsman there, especially with England's attack. England now in 3 or 4 test matches have played this 4-seam attack and they haven't had a seaming pitch yet, which is ludicrous, really. So forget India. Whoever you're playing against, if you're going in with 4 seamers and no spinner, why would you prepare that Trent Bridge pitch? So they did get it wrong. Lords, they do leave a little bit greener. I've seen it, it's a little bit greener, but sometimes on the morning he shaves it. Lords is pretty flat as well. Lords is never a minefield. And if they do leave it green, all that happens to Lords, maybe it won't be flat on day 1, but it just gets better and better and better. And by day 5 and day 4, it's an absolute belter. So it is going to be a tough series for the bowlers. Mistake that India mustn't make is that they look at, and England, they look back at the last game and think, crikey, maybe we should have played another spinner or a spinner in England's case. Lords doesn't spin that much. I don't think Lords is a 2-spinner pitch, in my opinion. India and Dhoni might see it differently, but I would play your 7 best batsmen and your 4 best bowlers. I think they were both sides were a bit cautious and conservative in that first game.
That was my question, and sort of it also leads me to my next. Ravindra Jadeja, are you convinced that he can play as India's #1 spinner in test match cricket? Day 4, he wasn't able to beat James Anderson even once. Would you go with Ashwin if you had the resources, especially because England has 6 left-handers?
That's the only question that India need to sort out, because I would still play Binny. I thought Binny batted beautifully and played really well. Tough runs as well. They could have lost that game if it wasn't for Binny. So tough runs on debut, brilliant. Didn't bowl because the conditions didn't suit, and Lords might a little bit more pitch up. So you're your 7 best batsmen. Then you pick your best bowlers. I'd like to see Shami bowl a bit better than he did at Trent Bridge. Reverse swing, he's usually pretty good at it. Ishant was brilliant. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar was brilliant. So for me, the only selection for India is Jadeja or Ashwin. I have to say, I mean, Ashwin is not just as good, but Ashwin can bat. He's a tough cricketer, and he gives you those variations. Historically, England don't play guys who bowl mystery balls that well. You look at them, they don't see them. They don't see the carom ball and the flicks and everything. So, personally, I probably would play Ashwin.
2011 we were rogered 4-0 and it was a whitewash, started the stem down for Indian cricket, went to Australia. Do you see 2011 different? This is a different England side. Do you see this series unfolding very differently for India? And do you actually see this Indian attack picking 20 wickets? That's my last question for the day.
I see England definitely different. I mean, England have not won for 8 or 9 test matches. They're a side low of confidence. Their captain is low in confidence. But I see a different Indian side as well. With all respect to all those legends that were here last time, they were coming towards the end of their career. And when you lose 1-2-0 and you've had so many years of test match cricket, they fell away a little bit, Sehwag, etc. But with this young gun Indian batting lineup, you know, look how Murali Vijay played. Look how much Pujara is going to come to Lords and want to go big, not want to give any more soft dismissals away. Virat Kohli want to play at Lords and get 100 and get his name up on that board. So I see a different Indian side, but your final question is actually the question for the whole series. Is there enough in this Indian bowling lineup to get 20 wickets away from home? You see, I think in England, they nearly, with Broad and Anderson, yes, they don't have a spinner, but in Broad and Anderson, they have 2, and then you've got Plunkett, and then you've got people who, in India, in this Indian lineup, if Shami is the key for me, because Kumar can bowl well with that new ball. Kumar will be a threat to Cook, the way he pitches it up and swings it both ways. Ishant was brilliant in the last game. And then you're looking at Shami. You can't win with just 2, and that's going to be England's problem. You need 3. And the pitches will be good. Rose Bowl will be good, Old Trafford will be good, and Oval will be good. The English summer, you know, it's going to be 30 degrees. It really comes down to the bowling lineup. So it could be a real, you know, it could be, there's a bit of rain forecast at Lords for Saturday. We could go 0-0 for a little while yet, and it's whichever side sort of blinks first and panics first could lose this series. So for me, all eyes on that Indian bowling attack at Lords.
1 billion people will also be focused on that Indian bowling attack. Which side blinks first? Which side panics first? Given the developments off the field, we'll have to keep an eye on that. And Nasser and I will be back with Shivani and Saurav all day on Headlines Today with the best coverage. Thanks for joining us.